Welcome to Enlighten Wisdom, beloved souls. The greatest mistake your enemies ever made was underestimating you, assuming you were just another ordinary soul. But here's the truth. The most dangerous individuals are the ones who rise quietly, unnoticed, while others waste their energy underestimating them. Life has a way of humbling those who think they've figured it all out, especially when they bet against someone they don't fully understand. When people laugh at what they can't comprehend, when they mock what they're too limited to see, and when they celebrate your struggles as if they're victories for themselves, they unknowingly write the first chapter of their own downfall. Number 1. They misread your silence as weakness. The odds were never in their favor because they misunderstood you. Every setback they cheered for wasn't an ending, but a prelude, an opening act to a story they weren't prepared for. While they toasted to what they thought was your failure, they didn't realize they were investing in their own defeat. Studies consistently show that overconfidence often blinds people, making them think they control outcomes far beyond their grasp. And this is precisely what happened here. They gambled everything on the false belief that you would crumble. Instead, you became the plot twist they never saw coming. And now, watching their panic unfold is almost poetic, a scene that plays out like a cautionary tale. It's like watching someone walk with absolute certainty, only to slam headfirst into a glass door they didn't realize was closed. Their first and perhaps greatest error was misreading your silence. To them, silence was weakness. They believed your lack of response, your refusal to argue or defend yourself, meant you were powerless, an easy target, someone they could manipulate, someone afraid to push back. But they couldn't have been more wrong. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. While they were consumed with running their mouths, plotting against you, and trying to control the narrative, you were doing something far more valuable. You were listening, watching, calculating. Your silence was your secret weapon, a tool that kept them blind to your true potential. They misunderstood your quiet as surrender, not realizing it was preparation. They underestimated you because they couldn't see what was coming. To them, your lack of reaction was a signal of defeat. But in reality, it was wisdom. Why waste your energy on petty battles that don't deserve your attention? While they were busy digging your grave, you were planting seeds for your next move. And when the moment came, when you finally acted, it was too late for them. Their overconfidence shattered like glass under the sheer power of your results. You didn't just rise, you soared in ways they could never have imagined. All the noise they created, all their attempts to undermine you, were drowned out by the undeniable force of your triumph. Your silence, as it turns out, wasn't just a lack of words, it was a profound message. It was the calm before the storm, the quiet before the thunder, and the stillness before the earthquake. They thought they had won because they were betting on an outdated version of you, a version that no longer exists. By the time they realized the truth, it was far too late. They had underestimated you so thoroughly that their own overconfidence became their undoing. And when the truth finally dawned on them, they were left scrambling, trying to figure out how you flipped the script so decisively. They had bet everything on your failure, but the version of you they believed in was nothing more than their illusion. You let them think they had the upper hand because their own arrogance was the most powerful weapon in your arsenal. By the time they understood the depth of their error, they had already lost everything. Number 2, their entertainment, your revenge. Your failure was their entertainment, and your success became their undoing. They saw your struggles as a spectacle, a source of twisted amusement, eagerly anticipating the moment you would collapse under the weight of your challenges. Your pain wasn't just ignored, it was celebrated. They talked, mocked, and even dared to place bets on how long it would take before you gave up entirely. To them, your setbacks were the final chapter, the closing act in a story they thought was already written. But they didn't understand the truth. Every setback was just a setup for an extraordinary comeback. While they laughed, you were learning. While they celebrated your perceived failures, you were adapting, recalibrating, and silently preparing for your rise. Every struggle they thought would crush you only added to your strength. What they couldn't see was the determination that burned within you. You weren't staying down. You were using the silence to rebuild, to grow stronger, and to plan your return. Their egos and sense of superiority blinded them to the possibility of your rise. They were too comfortable in their assumptions, too consumed by their own arrogance, to realize that you were not the type to stay defeated. And then it happened. Your rise. At first it was subtle, almost invisible, a quiet shift that went unnoticed. But soon the success they had so confidently declared impossible started pouring in. Their disbelief turned into confusion, and their mockery transformed into silence. The same people who delighted in your pain now scrambled to make sense of your triumph. The joy they felt at your struggles has now turned into envy, bitter and consuming. Regret eats away at them with every thought of you. You didn't just recover, you soared far beyond what they ever imagined. They bet everything on your failure, and now they're left with nothing but the painful realization that their entertainment was the fuel for your motivation. Your rise wasn't just personal, it was poetic. You didn't just bounce back. You left them behind, staring at the world you built, while they're stuck in the ruins of their own choices. Number 3. Weapons of their own undoing. The weapons they formed against you became the very chains that bind them. Every plot, every scheme, every calculated betrayal they orchestrated to see you fall turned out to be their undoing. They thought themselves clever, setting traps, spreading lies, and believing they could corner you. But what they failed to grasp is one of life's simplest yet most profound truths. The energy you put into the world always comes back. Their attempts to break you were fueled by arrogance, and at first they probably thought they were succeeding. They saw your struggles and assumed they had the upper hand. Your patience was misread as defeat, your quiet resilience mistaken for surrender. What they didn't realize is that the battles you didn't fight were the ones already won. Karma doesn't rush, but it never misses. Silently, yet with absolute precision, it began its work. The weapons they aimed at you ricocheted back onto them, entangling them in the web of deceit they spun. The traps they laid became their prisons, and the lies they spread became the very chains that now weigh them down. Their obsession with tearing you apart blinded them to the most essential truth. You cannot destroy someone whose purpose is greater than themselves. While they were busy pouring their energy into your downfall, they neglected their own lives. And that energy, like a boomerang, came back to them with even greater force. The beauty of it all is that you didn't even have to lift a finger. Their downfall wasn't your doing, it was theirs. Their inability to see past their own pride, their overestimation of their power, and their underestimation of your resilience sealed their fate. They failed to recognize that destiny isn't something they could control. It's a force far beyond their reach. Now they've lost everything they once held dear. The irony is almost poetic. The very weapons they forged to harm you became the tools of their own destruction. And while they remained tangled in the chaos they created, you walked away untouched, stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever before. Number 4. They gambled on your limits. You proved you're limitless. They placed all their bets on the belief that you'd hit a wall and stay there, confident that the challenges you faced would define your boundaries. In their minds, your struggles were proof of limits you could never surpass, barriers you'd never break, heights you'd never reach. To them, you were just like them, confined by life's obstacles and unable to rise above what was handed to you. But here's the truth they never saw coming. You were never like them. They completely underestimated your resilience, the ability to bend without breaking, to rise every time you fell. They didn't realize that the limits they projected onto you were nothing more than reflections of their own insecurities. The walls they believed would contain you became the very stepping stones for your growth. They gambled on your collapse, convinced that pressure would crush you, that challenges would hold you back. What they failed to understand was that pressure doesn't break you, it sharpens you. Every challenge you faced didn't hinder your progress, it refined you into something stronger, more determined, and utterly unstoppable. Every time they thought you'd reached your limit, you shattered that illusion by going further, faster, and higher. For you, it wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about proving to yourself that limits are only as real as the ones you choose to accept. Now they're stuck, trapped in the same narrow boxes they tried to fit you into. While they remain bound by their fear of failure, you've moved on to territories they can't even imagine. They bet everything on the idea that you'd stop. But you didn't just keep going. You've become unstoppable. And the ultimate irony, The limits they tried to impose on you have become the very chains keeping them in place. You've proven you're limitless, and in doing so, you've exposed just how small their thinking truly was. Number 5. They mocked your journey without knowing the destination. They mocked you at every step, certain they had the full picture. Your struggles, your sacrifices, and even the pace of your progress became the punchlines of their ridicule. To them, your journey looked like a series of missteps, a pointless effort leading nowhere. But what they didn't realize was this. They weren't meant to understand your path. It was never their journey to comprehend. Their mockery came from a place of ignorance because all they could see was the surface. They ridiculed your choices because they couldn't grasp the depth of your vision or the strength it took to keep moving forward. Every setback you faced became fuel for their amusement. Every detour you took was another excuse for them to belittle you. While they wasted their time laughing at your climb, you kept going, eyes fixed on a destination far beyond their limited perspective. Their laughter was short-lived because it stemmed from a place of blindness. They couldn't see the groundwork you were laying, the lessons you were learning, or the growth that was happening in silence. They thought your journey defined you, but what they failed to understand was that it was never about the journey. It was always about the destination. When you finally arrived, their laughter turned into stunned silence. Now they stand on the sidelines, unable to reach the heights you've achieved. The destination you've arrived at isn't just out of their reach, it's out of their imagination. The same people who mocked you now find themselves struggling to keep up with the version of you they never believed could exist. Their mockery wasn't just misguided, it was a testament to their inability to see past their own limitations. And the ultimate irony? You never needed their understanding to succeed. Their laughter was nothing more than background noise on your way to greatness. Number 6. Your bounce back is their wake-up call. They watched you fall and smugly assumed it was over. To them, losing everything is the ultimate end, a fate they believe no one can recover from. But that's because they've never experienced what it's like to rebuild from the ground up. They don't understand that for you, loss is not a defeat, it's a reset. You've been here before, standing amidst the ruins of what once was, and each time you've come back stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable than ever. This time, however, your bounce back wasn't just about getting back on your feet. It was a complete ascension. You didn't just recover, you transformed. Every setback became an opportunity, every failure a source of fuel for your next victory. You weren't merely rebuilding what you'd lost, you were creating something entirely new, something untouchable. While they were busy watching, waiting for you to crumble further, you were silently preparing for a rise so profound it would leave them speechless. The difference between you and them is simple. You know how to fight. Life has tested you in ways they could never fathom. You've learned to adapt, endure, and rise, no matter how heavy the burden or how dire the circumstances. They can't relate because they've never been pushed to their breaking point. They've never had to start over from scratch, with nothing but determination and grit to guide them. They mistook your struggles for weakness, not realizing those very struggles were teaching you how to win. And now, as they face their own losses, they're beginning to understand the immense strength it takes to survive what you've been through. But here's the twist. Their wake-up call has come too late. While they remain stuck in despair, you've already ascended far beyond their reach. Your bounce back isn't just a personal victory, it's a masterclass in resilience, a lesson they'll never forget. Number 7. They feared your power, so they tried to dim it. They caught a glimpse of your potential, and it terrified them. Your strength, your vision, your ability to rise from the ashes, it was a direct threat to everything they clung to. Instead of celebrating your growth, they chose to stifle it. They whispered doubts into the air, created obstacles in your path, and did everything in their power to make you second-guess yourself. Their goal wasn't just to hold you back, it was to make you forget you ever had power in the first place. But they made a critical mistake. They underestimated the source of your light. They thought your power came from external factors, validation, resources, or circumstances. What they couldn't see was that your power has always come from within. Even in your darkest moments, you didn't fade. In fact, the darkness only amplified your brilliance. Every attempt they made to dim your light backfired, pushing you closer to your own radiance. What they feared most, that you would fully step into your potential, has now become their reality. While they exhausted themselves trying to block your path, you kept moving forward. Their obsession with dimming your light blinded them to their own shortcomings. And now, they stand in the shadows, grappling with the weight of their failures. The irony is almost poetic. The more they tried to diminish you, the more powerful you became. Their actions didn't stop you. They fueled you. Every obstacle they placed in your way only added to the momentum of your rise. Now they're left with the sobering realization that they could never touch your essence. You shine brighter than ever, not because of their attempts to extinguish you, but in spite of them. While they remain trapped in the darkness of their own making, you've stepped fully into the light, radiating a brilliance they'll never reach. Number 8. They thought they were playing chess, while you played a different game. They believed they were playing chess, a game of calculated moves, strategies, and tactics designed to outsmart and overpower you. Every decision they made, every action they took, was meant to corner you, knock you down a peg, and secure their supposed dominance. Their focus was on outmaneuvering you, on achieving immediate victories to feed their egos and maintain their illusion of control. But here's the twist. They were never playing the same game as you. While they obsessed over winning a few small battles, you were focused on a far grander vision. You weren't playing for temporary wins. You were building something enduring. They failed to realize that true power doesn't lie in fleeting victories. It lies in creating a legacy. While they were busy playing for the moment, you were playing for the long haul. Their strategies revolved around ego-driven goals, but your approach was rooted in principles, vision, and purpose. Concepts that never even crossed their minds. They played for themselves, but you played for something much bigger, something they couldn't comprehend. Now, the game has flipped. Their clever moves, so carefully calculated, have left them with nothing of real substance. The small wins they cherished have crumbled into irrelevance, while you've only just begun to build something that will outlast them all. The legacy you're crafting is far beyond their limited understanding. Their losses aren't just financial or material. They've lost the essence of what it means to truly succeed. While they scramble to maintain their fragile positions, desperately clinging to the illusion of control, you're already miles ahead. You weren't confined by their rules. You were creating your own. And now, as they stand amidst the ruins of their short-sighted strategies, you stand on the threshold of greatness. They thought they were winning, but they were playing the wrong game all along. Number 9. Karma's timing was brutal and precise. You never had to lift a finger to get back at them, and that's where they made their gravest mistake. They assumed you'd be consumed by anger, that you'd chase revenge and escalate the chaos they stirred in your life. What they failed to understand is that karma has its own rhythm, its own brutal precision, and it doesn't need your interference. While they plotted, schemed, and manipulated, karma was silently taking notes. Every lie they told, every betrayal they executed, and every negative thought they sent your way was being recorded by the universe. And here's the thing about the universe. It never forgets. You didn't need to demand justice or stoop to their level. Karma has a way of striking when the time is right with a force that no one can escape. While they continued their misguided attempts to control and manipulate, karma was quietly sowing the seeds of their undoing. Their actions were like seeds planted in poisoned soil, and now the harvest has arrived. Every deceitful act, every betrayal, every ounce of negative energy they sent out has come back to them, stronger and more relentless than they ever imagined. They're now choking on the bitter fruit of their own actions, unable to escape the consequences they brought upon themselves. They thought they could hide their wrongdoings, manipulate their way out of accountability, and escape the backlash of their choices. But karma's timing is always impeccable. It doesn't just deliver consequences, it delivers lessons. And in their case, the lesson has been both humbling and humiliating. Every attempt they made to bring you down has only built the foundation for their own downfall. The irony is profound. The traps they set for you became the pits they fell into. And the most powerful part? You didn't have to do anything. You stepped back, trusting the natural order to handle what was meant to be, and it did, with unerring accuracy. Karma exposed them, humbled them, and forced them to face the full weight of their choices. Now they stand as living proof that what you put into the world comes back to you, often with a force you're least prepared for. Their downfall wasn't just poetic, it was inevitable. Number 10. Your pain made you evolve. Their comfort made them stagnant. While they stayed nestled in their comfort zones, clinging to the illusion that your struggles were your downfall, you were busy evolving. They mistook your pain for weakness, a sign that you were losing the game. But what they failed to grasp is that growth doesn't happen in comfort. It thrives in adversity. They lived in a bubble, too content and complacent to challenge themselves or confront the hardships of life. They basked in the glow of their untested success, believing they were ahead simply because they hadn't faced the kind of trials you endured. But comfort doesn't breed growth. Stagnation does. You, on the other hand, had no such luxury. Life threw its hardest punches, and instead of crumbling, you transformed every blow into fuel. Every setback became a lesson, and each lesson became a stepping stone. Pain wasn't your enemy. It was your catalyst. Where others saw defeat, you saw opportunity. While they rested in the false security of their comfort, you embraced the challenges that came your way. Each struggle reshaped you, sharpening your strength, your intelligence, and your resilience. Now, as you stand tall in the aftermath of your evolution, you're unrecognizable to those who once doubted you. They thought they had you figured out, convinced that your pain defined you. But what they never understood is that your pain didn't break you. It remade you. It gave you the power to rise above their expectations, to exceed the limits they tried to impose. Now they're stuck in the same patterns, living the same lives, while you've evolved into something beyond their comprehension. Their comfort shielded them from challenges, but it also kept them from reaching their full potential. And as they look at the person you've become, they realize it's too late for them to change. You've become the very thing they feared, unstoppable. Number 11, they can't stop watching you rise, and it's destroying them. They once thought they could sit back and watch you stumble, waiting for the moment they could smugly declare, "I told you so." But now they find themselves trapped in an endless loop, watching you rise higher and higher, and it's eating them alive. Every success you achieve is a crushing reminder of everything they underestimated about you. Your growth, your resilience, and your ability to overcome every obstacle haunt them daily. They can't escape it. Your victories have become their torment, a haunting truth they can't ignore. What they didn't realize is that their obsession with your failure only set them up for a harsher reality. You were never their competition. Your success was always inevitable. Now, watching you thrive has become their punishment. No matter how hard they try to ignore your ascent, it's always there, a constant reminder of their mistakes, their arrogance, and their inability to see your potential. Every time they see you win, it chips away at their pride. It forces them to confront the truth of their own inadequacies. They wanted to see you broken, to revel in your downfall. Instead, they're watching you become everything they feared, and there's absolutely nothing they can do to stop it. Your success has become their mirror, reflecting all the ways they fell short. Every achievement of yours shatters the illusions they built about you and feeds their regret. The irony is undeniable. Their attempts to control your destiny, to write the story of your failure, have only made your triumphs that much sweeter. They've been forced to realize that they were never in control of your path, and that truth will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Number 12. Their loss is emotional and spiritual, far beyond material. Their loss isn't something that can be neatly measured in numbers or material possessions. Sure, they may have lost money, opportunities, or things they once held dear, but the true devastation lies far deeper. What destroys them most is the emotional and spiritual reckoning that comes with realizing their colossal mistake. They placed their bets against you, convinced that you'd falter, that you lacked the strength to rise. Now they're left to grapple with the haunting truth. They were profoundly, undeniably wrong about you. The financial losses they face pale in comparison to the emotional blow of knowing they misjudged you so completely. It's the kind of regret that doesn't just sting, it settles in their bones, gnawing away at their sense of self. They thought they knew you, thought they had you all figured out, but now they're forced to confront the depth of their arrogance. This isn't just a loss of tangible things. It's a collapse of their perception of reality. They believed you were small, weak, insignificant. Now they're staring at the undeniable truth. You've evolved into something they can't even begin to comprehend. This realization doesn't just bruise their pride, it damages their spirit. It's the kind of regret that reshapes a person, forcing them to question everything they once believed in. For some, that's far worse than losing wealth or status. The emotional and spiritual weight of knowing they let their egos guide them, of understanding they miscalculated so gravely, is a burden they will carry long after their material losses are forgotten. Their greatest loss wasn't the money, the opportunities, or even their pride. It was the chance to see you for who you truly are. An incredible force of nature, someone destined to rise far above their limited understanding. That kind of regret doesn't fade, it lingers, a quiet yet powerful reminder of the magnitude of their error. In the end, their story of loss isn't about what they misplaced, it's about what they failed to recognize in you. They bet against you, underestimated your strength, and misjudged the very essence of your being. What they didn't realize is that while they were betting on your downfall, you were building something far greater, a legacy that no doubt, no obstacle, and no miscalculation could ever shake. Their material losses and bruised egos are only the surface of the wound. The real loss, the one that cuts the deepest, is the understanding that they were wrong about you in ways they'll never fully reconcile. And while they wrestle with their regret, you continue to rise, unscathed, unstoppable, and stronger with every step. Your journey was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving to yourself that you are built for something greater, something far beyond their comprehension. While they stagnated in their comfort zones, clinging to illusions of control, you evolved in ways they could never imagine. Your resilience, your refusal to be held back, and your relentless pursuit of greatness have become forces so powerful that even their deepest regrets can't diminish them. So let them watch. Let them wrestle with their mistakes. Because the truth is, the best is yet to come. You've only just begun to reveal the power and potential of a chosen one.